In my lifetime, Africa will become a superpower in wealth.
Good afternoon, guys. Today, we'll be talking about the future of Africa and what Africa can do to move itself out of poverty. And I'd like to use a speech. Don't worry, it's not a long speech. I'd like to use a speech by the president of Ghana, Nana Dangwa Akufo-Addo, and the speech that he gave at the UN. We need to think about what the ideas of Africa and thinking about independence for the continent looked like 4 years ago. And maybe we can even try and think about where we are now, or even reflect about where we are now and where we want to go. So join me as we listen to him. I will not play the whole video. I'll just play the latter part. If you want to check it out for yourself, just go into the comments below and I would have linked it over there. Without further ado, let's jump right into it.
We know we must get our population educated and trained, and we are setting about it. We must address our infrastructural deficit. The traditional methods of tackling this problem will not provide the answer.
Let's think about what the traditional ways have been, or where we currently are. A lot of what happens in Africa is a lot of export of raw materials and importing of finished goods. So he is essentially saying now that maybe that method is not working anymore and new ways have to be explored.
We're looking for new ways to resolve it. Ghana, like many countries in Africa, is forging relations with China to make arrangements to help address part of our infrastructure deficit.
Okay, so I know a lot of you will be panicking right now because the word on the street is that if you talk to China, then China's going to take over your economy. Actually, I've seen a lot of headlines where a lot of this is sold that Africa's negotiations with China means that China is going to own Africa. It's almost as if Africa is the only continent that's doing business with China, but it's not. A lot of countries are doing work with China and there aren't any problems there, and China's not taking over those countries. So what are we suggesting here? Are we suggesting that African nations are not able to think for themselves or even make their own decisions and drop their own plans or as to how they want to work with China, right?
Is not a uniquely Ghanaian or African phenomenon. It has not been lost on us that the developed, rich and well-established countries have been paying regular visits to China and seeking to open new economic ties and improve upon existing ones. It is also not lost on us that a lot of anxiety is being expressed about the possibility of a recolonization of the African continent by a new power. We should indeed learn from history. It was at the turn of the 20th century that China's first railways were built by Western companies, financed by Western loans to a nearly bankrupt Qing dynasty. And it was under those circumstances that a strategic port called Hong Kong was leased for 99 years, and the rest...
So just thinking about where China comes from, a lot of people see China today and think that China has always been the way it is. And they don't know that cities like Shenzhen, China, did not really exist as cities about 50 years ago. Right now, everything in the world is manufactured from China, from Shenzhen specifically, especially for electronics. So it hasn't always been that China has been the leader in either technology. China right now has evolved so much that they are really even second in the world as an economy. So it cannot be that we continue to think of other places, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, which are right now leading most African countries as special. They had a plan, they had a mission, and they put boots on the ground and made sure that those things happen. Why can't Africa then do that themselves?
Just as the saying goes, is history. Today, the former victim of Western Railways imperialism is lending billions to countries throughout Africa, Asia, and Europe to construct not only railroads, but also highways, ports, power plants, and other infrastructure, and many businesses. The historical echoes are certainly worrisome, but yes, surely we must and can learn from history. We in Ghana must build roads, bridges, railways, ports, schools, hospitals, and we must create jobs to keep our young people engaged. It is
important point. It cannot be that with Africa's youth being 40% under 15, not enough education or not even enough skills are given to those kids who will very soon be one of the biggest populations in the world. Most of those young people are immigrating, trying to jump over 3 lines of border barbed wires to try and make a better life for themselves. Countries need to start thinking about how we industrialize, how we change what Africa is right now. There isn't any reason why Africa cannot use its own minerals and riches really to build factories, to build some kind of manufacturing power and play a better role in the world economy. Because right now, Africa is seen as a place to dump things. We are the largest consumers of second-hand cars in the world. We're the largest recipients of aid. The most poverty is in Africa, and yet we have the things that can help us move from where we are. I don't understand why people are not even pushing more for this kind of thinking.
Obvious to us that the development trajectory we have been on for many decades is not working. We're trying a different one, and we would appreciate the support and goodwill of the world, especially in helping to stem the huge flow of illicit funds from the continent. It is in everybody's interest that we who are counted amongst the poor of the world make a rapid transformation from poverty to prosperity. We're determined in Ghana and increasingly in more and more parts of Africa to chart our own path to prosperity and pay our own way in the world. We're no longer interested in being a burden on others. We will shoulder our own responsibilities and build societies and nations that will be attractive to our youth. We have the necessary sense of enterprise, creativity, innovation, and hard work to engineer this transition. Hence our vision of a Ghana beyond aid, indeed, of an Africa beyond aid.
All right, so we'll end it there. If you want to watch the whole video, like I said, I'll link it in the comments below. But I think these are extremely important ideologies and a way for re-energizing a population. I think every nation owes it to its people and its population to give them the best environment they possibly can. And this goes for all African nations as well. Why don't we unite behind a mission? But I think it's a mentality. I think it's a way of thinking that matters. If we don't move ourselves out of where we are going to be in trouble. We have a continuously growing population, and new generations that are coming up, if we don't have a say in where that future goes, then we stand the risk of repeating the past. So think about it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know it was a bit hot, this episode, but I think we really need to be serious about where we're going. We need to think clearly about the future of this continent and the future of its people. With that, thank you for joining me. And like I said, comments below and give this video a like if you did. Let's chat again on the next one. Cheers.
But I want to tell you today that Africa has the resources, the ability, and the people to grow into an economic superpower. It is the richest continent already in terms of natural resources. 30% of the world's cobalt, diamonds, gold, and iron are in Africa. Africa also has huge wealth in oil. Nigeria produces more than 2.5 million barrels of oil per day. On the global market, one barrel is worth around $52. You can do the maths, but you get the idea.